Hi folks, it's just me, your friendly neighborhood Walter Shepherd, and um, I don't really have anything planned for this one, at least not structured on paper, because I've been speaking about it for the past 4 years now, maybe even longer than that. And that's about what's going to be happening after the rapture. Because when the rapture comes, we're going to be getting our regenerated bodies, our renewed bodies that are going to basically be the same as they are now, except that they're going to be returned to the prime condition that they would have been had sin not entered into the human DNA chain. I'm sure, just like Jesus, we'll have some scars that are still there, but there are some scars that we don't really like, and the Lord's going to take them away. If sin in the genetic code in your family has misshapen you or malformed you or whatever, that'll be corrected. Again, basically, after the rapture, your body is going to be returned to the prime condition that it always has or was always meant to be if sin hadn't entered into the genetic code. And you're going to be returned to or you're going to be made into the physical appearance that you've always wanted to be. So if you've always wanted to appear as an older person with youthful exuberance, you will be. If you've always wanted to have a young appearance with the wisdom of an older, mature person, you will be. Again, the Lord is not going to give you something that you don't want. Our Heavenly Father is a giver of perfect gifts. So at the time of the rapture, your body is going to be made perfect, and it'll last forever. You'll never get sick. You'll never get old. Your body will never break down. You won't need to eat, and you won't need to sleep, but physically, you'll still be able to enjoy the taste of food, and you'll still be able to enjoy a nice rest or even a sleep. And when you're sleeping, your consciousness can enter into the dream realm, where angels also exist. And so you could, while your body is sleeping in heaven or on the earth, you can play in yet another dimension, and that's in the dream realm. That's just one of the many dimensions that God has created that we have access to in heaven. I've read in the books of Enoch, the ones written by him and the ones written about him, that in heaven there are basically 10 realms, 10 different dimensions. And heaven itself, where all the people are, where the city of God is, that's the first level. And then there are 8 other dimensions on top of that, with beings that exist in forms that are totally unimaginable. Some of those beings, they're 1,000,000 miles tall. And I've talked about this before, so I will just quickly go through it. The 10th dimension, however, or the 10th level, that is the presence of God himself. And so not everybody gets access to all those different levels of heaven, not all those different heavenlies. The people that are in heaven that are not part of the bride of Christ, those that God and Jesus have had mercy on and have let them in, they only have access to the first heavens. And I'm not talking about the levels of heaven as we measure from Earth, because Earth, basically, the dimensions of Earth that exist in the universe, that would be the 9th level that is in heaven. So when I talk about the heavenlies and I talk about the different heavens, I'm not measuring it from the standards that we measure from Earth, because on Earth we start at a different level. The first heavens is the sky, the second heavens is the universe, and the third heavens is heaven itself. So those are the dimensions starting from Earth. But when you're in heaven, the dimensions are all renumbered. So level 1 would be heaven itself. Level 2 are the 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 8 are the various dimensions, realms, planes of existence that are in heaven, with angels and creatures that are just so amazing to our eyes. So the 9th level in heaven would be our universe. The 9th level in heaven is the only place where time and space exist. So if you can look at it like that. And the 10th level is the very presence of God, is the very face of God himself, where he exists outside of time and outside all these other dimensions and levels and realms that are in heavens and in the heavenlies. But you servants, you have access to all these different levels. So when you go to the level where those million-mile tall angelic beings are, you can appear to them as just being a tiny little insect, a tiny little atom in their presence, or you can appear as being their size. So you will appear once you go in their dimension, you can be a million miles tall yourself, or you can just be in your regular size and just be a little speck sitting on top one of their toenails, and so on and so on. There are so many amazing things that await us in heaven. The first level, where the city of God exists, the landscapes of heaven are just amazing. I've had a lot of visions and dreams about that too. And the city itself, the city of God, that's amazing that they what they have there too. I remember in the 90s I had a dream that I flew over the city of heaven, the one that's described in Revelation, and it took 3 nights just to do a quick flyover, because there's so much information for the human brain to take in. The first night I just flew over the landscape and I could see the rainbow cube-like city, the glowing golden rainbow cube-like city in the distance, and that was the first night. And then the second night I got closer to the city, and then the third night I flew over the city, because the human brain can only take in so much of what there is in heaven, of what there is in creation, of God's intelligence and the beauty and everything that he has designed. Our human brains right now, they couldn't handle seeing heaven in their present form. That's why Elijah and Enoch, they had to be translated. Their bodies had to go from mere flesh to heavenly eternal matter. And that's what is going to happen when we get raptured. Our bodies are going to move from corruptible matter to incorruptible matter. They're going to move into eternal heavenly matter. Same thing that angels are made out of. So not only will we be able to exist in the heavenlies of the earth, but those of us that are part of the wedding ceremony, after we face the judgment seat of Christ, we're going to be given positions of authority down here on the earth. After the tribulation, after Armageddon, when Jesus comes down to rule the planet during the 1,000 years of peace, during the Millennium. And this is really what I wanted to talk about, is the millennial kingdom that is coming. Because the Bible tells us that after Armageddon, however many people there are, because they will all be evil people at the end of the tribulation, they're all going to be evil, wicked people that are being ruled by Satan and all his demonic forces. And so that's what Armageddon is all about, is Jesus coming down with his earthly servants and with his angelic servants, and they're going to be wiping out all the evil and wicked people all the demonic people and all the demonic forces. And Satan is going to be bound, and all those dark angels and Nephilim, they're going to be bound, and they're going to be tossed into the abyss, and they're going to not bother anybody during the 1,000 years of peace. And then the earth is going to go through a global shake and bake. That is, the earth itself is going to be shaken so vigorously, and it'll be like the earth, or it'll be like God will be compacting a snowball to make it more stable, to make it more stronger. And so everything that we have built on the earth, every building that will exist during tribulation, is going to be shaken down. Anything that sinful mankind has built is going to be destroyed. It's going to be reduced to rubble and become nothing but ruins. And that's the global earth shake. And then comes the global earth bake, in which case the fires are going to burn everything on the planet, and everything will be reduced to ash. And God is just going to start creation over again. There'll be new plant life, new animal life. Everything is going to be recreated. God, in His mercy, is going to be bringing back all the animals that have been extinct. And the Bible also says during tribulation, the tribulation period, that all the waters are going to be poisoned. And so all the animal life, or all the sea life, is all going to be destroyed. And during the tribulation period, because they won't be able to grow anything, most or all the animals are going to be killed as a food source. And so there won't be many animal life or sea life left by the end of the tribulation period. So when God starts off the planet brand new at the end of the global earth shake and bake, out of the ashes, the earth is going to start over again. All the plant life will be recreated. And during that first day, if you're one of the servants that are blessed to see, to be on the earth during that first day, you're going to see various things that look like a time-lapse movie. In which case, you'll get to see the animal the animal kingdom being recreated again, or the fish life being recreated again, and it'll look like a time-lapse movie. All these molecules will be coming together to form the feline family and the bovine family, and all the fowls of the air and the lizards of the sea. You're going to be seeing them all recreated. A male and female of each, and they will each be able to propagate life and let it grow and grow and grow throughout the 1,000 years of peace. And not only the life or the animal life that we have now, but also He's going to be recreating dinosaurs and all the extinct species that mankind has made extinct, and that the natural sources and the natural flow of life on this planet has made extinct. So dinosaurs will come back. And because He's recreating all the animal life, the Bible tells us that the lion will be eating straw. All those carnivores, their metabolism is going to be recreated. And so they will be able to exist eating grass and eating plants and vegetables and things like that. And so when dinosaurs are recreated, they're also not going to be carnivorous. They're going to be herbivores, so they will also be able to survive on grass and plant life. So the whole food life is going to change, or the whole food chain is going to change. The whole food chain is going to change during the 1,000 years of peace. So yes, you'll be able to have pet lions, pet cheetahs, pet panthers, pet raptors, pet T-Rexes, and things like that. And we'll be able to understand each other. We human beings will be able to communicate with the animals in whatever form, as the Bible has shown us with Balaam's donkey. the Lord was able to rearrange his vocal cords and his intelligence so that he was able to speak words to Balaam and communicate with him. So such a thing could be possible during the 1,000 years of peace. Animals being able to communicate with people, or people being able to communicate with animals. Either way, animals will still be able to talk like they do now with each other in their own animal kingdom, but they will also be able to communicate with people in one way or in one way or another. We still don't know exactly yet, but we will find out when we get to heaven. But after the great global shake and bake, there will be a remnant of people that will be left. And I don't believe that the people that have accepted the mark of the beast, I believe all of them will be destroyed. So people that have taken the mark of the beast, that have been possessed by a demonic spirit, they will not be there during the 1,000 years of peace. But those people during the tribulation that have existed outside of the 10 cities that did not take the mark of the beast, they will be the remnant of survivors that come out of Armageddon, that survive the global shake and bake. So on the face of the planet during the 1,000 years of peace, there will be you regenerated servants, you wise virgins. You will be there on the 1,000 years of peace, during the 1,000 years of peace on day one, and you will be sent out into the earth to help find the remnant of survivors, the natural human beings, the natural bloodline that come from Adam and Eve, those that have come through the tribulation, those that will have a limited lifespan. And as the dream that I had suggests, the remnant of survivors, there will be about 5,000 natural human beings that will be there, who will grow during the 1,000 years of peace. And during day one, it'll be up to you, appointed servants of the Lord, to go out and find the remnant of survivors and take them back to Israel, back to Jerusalem, so that they can be judged, and they will be appointed their places on the earth itself. And the earth itself, in the visions that I've had, all the continents are going to change. When the earth, or when God compacts the earth, he's changing the landscape. He's changing everything. Right now we have 70% water, 30% land. It's going to be reversed. There's going to be one global landscape. So it'll be 70% land and 30% water. There will be large bodies of water, huge lakes, but no oceans that take days to sail over and stuff like that. There's going to be so many rivers and so many ponds and streams that the earth itself during the 1,000 years of peace is going to be a moisture-rich planet. Because of all the lakes and streams and ponds and rivers that are going to be there, even seas, but no real oceans, just very large seas and lakes and stuff like that. But all the continents are going to be are all going to be connected, and so those 5,000 remnant of survivors, they're going to be placed on wherever they came from. Those 5,000 people will be out of the various races that we have right now. So the remnant of survivors that came from Africa, from Asia, from Europe, from North America, South America, Australia, etc., they're going to be placed back where those particular nations were at the time. And they will grow, and it'll be you servants of the Lord that get to guide them as the natural people grow in population throughout the 1,000 years of peace. And so at the beginning of the 1,000 years of peace, there's going to be about 5,000 natural people, and they will have a limited lifespan, even though their lifespan will be about 200-300 years in length, because of how beautiful and natural the earth will be growing during the millennium. The Garden of Eden will be returned to the earth during the 1,000 years of peace. So out of the ashes will become new plants and animals, and as it grows over the years, it's going to be returned to the Garden of Eden. And the remnant of survivors, they're going to live in a beautiful, almost perfect environment. And so their lifespans are going to increase. And so as the population grows, it'll be up to you, wise servants, that are given a position of authority that will help them to become decent citizens, that will look after the planet, that will look after each other. 1,000 years of peace is going to be the time when there will be goodwill towards all people, where God's will be done on the earth just like it's being done in heaven. And it'll be up to you servants to help the population grow during the 1,000 years of peace. And not only will there be you modern servants of the Lord, but all those that Jesus has chosen from the time of Adam and Eve, as their children grew and spread throughout the planet 6,000 years ago, wherever they were, whether they walked on over and moved on over and migrated to North America, South America, Asia, Europe, Africa, Australia, because at the time before the flood, all the continents were joined. There was one landmass, and it wasn't until after the flood, when the rains came, that created the oceans, and that created the different continents. But before the flood, all the Earth's landscapes were all connected. So Adam and Eve's children, as they grew in population, they spread out throughout the whole planet. And as the population grew, Jesus knew, and God knew, and the Holy Spirit knew those group of people that were more obedient than disobedient, the people that were more good and not so bad, the people that were more selfless and they weren't as selfish. So the good people ended up in heaven, and the bad people were separated from the rest of the universe. So a lot of those people in centuries past from us, in the 1st century BC, the 2nd century BC, and so on, all those people in whatever century they were born, in whatever continent they were on, in whatever country they were in whatever village they lived in, all the good, godly, decent, Christ-like people ended up in heaven. And a lot of those people from centuries past and ancient cultures and civilizations, they're also going to be coming back down to earth during the 1,000 years of peace, and they're going to be rebuilding their cultures, their civilizations. So on the earth, during the 1,000 years of peace, by the time we get to the middle of it, not only are there going to be huge mega cities with millions of people living in a technologically advanced city with roads and cars that don't pollute and flying vehicles that don't pollute, space traveling vehicles that are fuel efficient, and underwater vehicles and underground vehicles. Not only is there going to be a technologically advanced civilization on the earth during the millennium, but there will also be pockets here and there of people that just recreated the villages and the cultures that they grew up in ancient civilizations. So on the earth during the millennium, there's going to be villages that look like they did in ancient South America and in ancient North America, teepee villages, or ancient Aboriginal villages that look like they came out of Australia or out of Africa or out of China or Japan or Europe or any parts of Asia, any parts of any culture, any civilization that had godly, decent people that ended up in heaven. Some of those are going to be coming back and recreating their villages. So the earth during the millennium will be one natural history museum with all these rebuilt ancient cultures from continents from centuries past. And there will also be you servants in the postmodern world in the 19th century, the 20th century, and the 21st century. All the architects, the builders, the designers, the planners, they're going to be coming back to help build modern cities with modern technology that are going to be a benefit to the natural people. You wise servants of the Lord, you won't need an airplane to fly, because your renewed body will be just like Jesus. So you will be able to have control over the natural forces of nature. You'll be able to defy gravity. You'll be able to literally, as the Bible says, you will literally be able to tell this mountain to move from here to there. You will have control over the forces of nature, over all the laws of nature, over all the materials of nature. You will have control over that. Jesus will show us how to do that once we get to heaven after the rapture. And in terms of, if I can quickly digress into the last video I talked about, being Acts 2:17, and how the spirit of prophecy has been poured out on all flesh. And people throughout all the centuries in the postmodern world, they have seen bits and pieces of the future, but they've only been able to interpret that with the knowledge that they had. And so the movies and the TV shows that they've seen in their visions, they've interpreted the future as being one where there's people working together, people with great technological advances. But because they were unbiblical people, ungodly people, they saw the future with guns, and they saw it with corruption, and they saw it with money, and they saw it with the same sins that we have now. But the reality of it during the millennium, there's going to be advanced technology. There's going to be, like in Star Trek and like in Star Wars. Star Trek shows the vision of what it's going to be like during the 1,000 years of peace, as well as after. And the visions that come out of Star Wars are going to be showing or have shown us what it's going to be like after the 1,000 years of peace, when mankind is released out into the universe, out into the galaxy, to go explore and map everything that we see in the stars right now. So during the 1,000 years of peace, like in Star Trek, the earth itself is going to be without money. There won't be a monetary system. The Bible tells us that all the gold and precious stones that are on the earth are going to be gathered together. They're going to be taken to Jerusalem, and they're going to be used as adornment on the city walls there. So there won't be any greed or sin or corruption that comes out of the love of money, because the people during the 1,000 years of peace, they're going to be able to grow their own food. There'll be some people that grow massive amounts of food on their farms, and the whole planet will be fed, and everybody will be freely offering everything that they build, everything that they grow to everybody else. So there won't be any need for money or anything that is connected with money, especially sin and corruption. And so people will actually be getting along, and people will actually be working for each other at jobs that they enjoy, that they were skilled to have. And the skills that they built up, and the natural talents that they have, they will just do that on a daily basis, because there are people who want to work on farms and provide food. There are people who want to design buildings architecturally, so they will do that. There are people who want to build. There will be people who want to work in hotels. There will be people who want to cook in restaurants, and there will be other people who want to serve each other in great big cities or in small towns or in villages. And there will even be time for people to just walk around the planet and just take in everything that is there. There won't be any hardcore deadlines or any strict responsibilities. People will just enjoy life for the sake of enjoying life and creation there. And what else? Oh yes, and because we're going to be making all kinds of vehicles for ground, water, and air. We're also going to be having groups of people that are going to be building spaceships, and we're going to be flying out into the solar system to gather all the metals and the minerals that are in the asteroid belt. So the Earth is not going to be stripped of its metals or its metals or minerals or anything like that. All those metals are waiting for us in the asteroid belt. We just go out, bring them back, build our spaceships, make our buildings and our advanced cities. And some of the cities that I've seen, they're like they're just massive. They're huge. And the ground traffic is on a different level from the foot traffic, so there's no more accidents. Everything is going to be efficiently designed, and there's going to be buildings that just dwarf what we have now. I don't think we even have a building that's an entire mile high. During the millennium, there's going to be buildings that stretch outside of the atmosphere, 10 miles high, and so on and so on. So everything is going to be much more efficient. Everything is going to be much more beautiful during the 1,000 years of peace. And because we're going to be making spaceships, the Lord is going to limit our space travel to just being in the solar system. We won't be allowed to explore the galaxy yet. We will be allowed to explore the galaxy after the 1,000 years of peace, when God moves the heavenly city onto the earth. Because after the 1,000 years of peace comes the final time of judgment for all mankind. From Adam and Eve onward, everybody's going to be judged after the 1,000 years of peace. So those people that are being deemed worthy of eternal life will get to eat from the tree of life. So the natural flesh and blood people, they will get to eat from the tree of life, and they will become immortal. So at the end of the 1,000 years of peace, there's going to be two immortal kinds of people. Those with flesh and blood like we have now, and those of the regenerated nature, of the raptured nature, of the resurrected nature, those that are going to be happening on the day of the rapture. They're going to be eternal. So after the 1,000 years of peace, after Judgment Day, when God moves the heavenly city onto the face of the planet, and when God lives on the earth itself, that's when the natural flesh and blood people will get into their spaceships and explore the galaxy. They will explore and map all the different stars and all the different planets and constellations and celestial bodies. And we too, regenerated servants of the Lord, can go with them in spaceships, or we can go ahead of them and just think our way from planet to planet, from galaxy to galaxy, to help map and explore the universe after the 1,000 years of peace. So again, the whole Star Trek, Star Wars things, those visions that those creators have seen will all come into play. And lastly, I will end off with you regenerated servants during the 1,000 years of peace, and a superhero aspect. I believe all the superhero movies and all the movies like that, they have been visions of what you will be doing during the 1,000 years of peace. Because as Jesus has shown us with his resurrected body, he still had his supernatural abilities to be able to create food, to walk on water, to change the atomic nature of water, turn it into a refreshing drink, or to make water solid and be able to walk on it while it still flowed as a liquid. Jesus was still able to do all that after his resurrection. He was still able to eat because he showed us that he ate food after his resurrection. So he still had all those hypernatural abilities to control the forces of nature and the atomic level of cells and molecules and the quantum nature or the quantum elements of nature. He can control all that because he created it. And so he will be showing us how to do that. And he also showed us after his resurrection that he could appear in his godly form, in his glowing form, but he could also appear in a natural human form. Because as we know, he talked to some of his servants on the road to Emmaus, and they didn't recognize him. So he could appear as somebody else, so that people couldn't recognize him. And so during the 1,000 years of peace, As the cities grow, the natural people will still eventually have dangerous situations. They could fall off a cliff, they could fall off a building, and because you servants of the Lord will be given a position of authority, you can live in and work amongst the people in those cities. And so you can appear as one of them, as just an ordinary working class citizen doing a job. But if somebody should get into trouble, then you could easily take off your natural looking nature and put on your godly nature and go out and save the day. Go out and save them from falling off a building. Go out and save them if they fall off a mountain or if they come into danger. So you could have a alter ego and a supernatural appearance, a superhero appearance, and you will have the same powers as every other superhero that you see in the movies now. All those superhero powers, be they of X-Men or be they of the Avengers. I believe people who created those superheroes saw bits and pieces of the future. They saw visions of the future through the spirit of prophecy, Acts 2:17. But again, they could only interpret it with the knowledge that they had. But all those superhero powers that all those superheroes have in all those movies, you will possess, you will have. You wise virgins, you regenerated servants of the Lord, during the 1,000 years of peace, you will have the ability to create fire, or to move water, or to make objects move from here to there, to hear the thoughts of other people. All the superhero powers that we have now, you will possess during the 1,000 years of peace. And it will come in handy at the end of the 1,000 years of peace. Because as we read in the book of Revelation, Satan is going to be bound for the 1,000 years of peace. But at the end of the 1,000 years of peace, he's going to be released to go tempt the nations. So the natural people, Adam and Eve's descendants, and the remnant of survivors of Armageddon, those natural flesh and blood people, as the population grows, they will still have that Adamic nature that tends towards the self, that fleshly nature that wants to sin. But during the 1,000 years of peace, the options to sin will be less and less and less. But they will still have that nature that wants to sin, that wants to disobey. So at the end of the 1,000 years of peace, those billions of people with the natural flesh and blood, Satan will be tempting those. And a lot of the people will give in, but most of the people won't. Thanks to you servants that have taught them and set the example on how to live a godly life and how to reject sin. But there will still be a certain amount of people that will give in to sin, that will give in to Satan at the end of the 1,000 years of peace, when he goes out to tempt the nations. And so when those people have given in to Satan, or giving in to temptation and corruption, they will trying to be destroying as much of the world as possible. They're going to be trying to wreck things, trying to blow things. They will take all the tools and all the vehicles and everything that has been built during the 1,000 years of peace. They're going to be corrupting that. So they're going to be trying to destroy as much of the world as they can as they march towards Jerusalem for the final war, to try and destroy it. But because you wise servants will have supernatural powers, you will be able to stop those people. You'll be able to stop the destruction. You'll be able to stop them from killing other people in your supernatural way, in your hypernatural way, in your superhero, in your superpowers kind of way, in your godly way. You will be doing what superheroes do at the end of the 1,000 years of peace, by stopping the evildoers from causing destruction, causing harm to other people. And so eventually, all those people that have fallen for Satan's temptation, they will surround Jerusalem and they will try to destroy it one last time. And that's when the fire of God is going to fall from heaven and completely wipe out every natural human being that would give in to temptation, and will completely wipe out Satan too. So that evil from that point on will never exist ever again. All the natural human beings that resisted Satan's temptation will have proven that their natural flesh and blood can resist sin, that they can resist evil. So those people will be given the right to eat from the tree of life. So the natural flesh and blood will become immortal. And you servants of the Lord will become immortal. And then from that point on, after the 1,000 years of peace, sin will no longer exist, corruption will no longer exist, and death will no longer exist. So then we will be able to take our lives out into the universe, out into the galaxy, to explore the other life there, to explore the other cultures on the other planets. And we won't be bringing corruption or sin or death into whatever life God has created in the galaxy. And we'll just get to explore life, the eternal life. I mean, and at the end of the 1,000 years of peace, after Judgment Day, heaven is going to be melded with the time and space universe. So basically, all the dimensions that are in heaven, all those 10 levels, are going to be melded together. The city in heaven, that big golden rainbow cube-like city, is going to be sitting on the face of the earth, and God Himself, in all His infinite glory and all His infinite power, is going to make earth His home. So the earth, after the 1,000 years of peace, is going to be the brightest star in the entire universe. So no matter where you go in the universe, the brightest star is going to be Earth. And so all the dimensions that are in heaven are going to be melded with our time-space universe. So for us, servants of the Lord, getting from the Earth to the farthest galaxy, we'll be able to do it in seconds. And there's so much more to talk about, but I see it's getting kind of lengthy. So I will just end it off at that. So that's a quick rambling about how much more there is for you servants of the Lord after you get your raptured body. You're going to have so many more powers. You're going to be given a position of authority on the earth during the 1,000 years of peace to help those people grow into a perfect society where people will be living in close to perfection. The earth during the 1,000 years of peace will just be good. But after the 1,000 years of peace, after Judgment Day, when God makes heaven and earth one, that's when the earth will become perfect. So everything that we build during the 1,000 years of peace and all the people, it will still have a limited lifespan. But after the 1,000 years of peace, when God makes earth His home, everything is going to be eternalized. The people will be made eternal. And everything that we build during the 1,000 years of peace is going to be made to last forever. So all the machines that we make during the millennium, they will still have a limited lifespan. They will still have moving parts. They will still have friction, and they will eventually break down. But after God makes earth His home and He makes everything eternal, everything that we build during the 1,000 years of peace is going to be made to last forever. The whole nature of the laws of nature, all the laws of thermodynamics, they're all going to be changed. The nature of time and space is going to be changed. The nature of physics is going to be changed when God makes earth His home and makes everything eternal. And then everything will be perfect. So it's up to the servants of the Lord, you wise virgins, to learn as much as you can right now that is in the Bible. Because the more you know of the Bible, the greater your position of authority will be during the 1,000 years of peace. And the more of a godly, Christ-like influence you will be to the natural people that grow during the 1,000 years of peace. So get to know the Lord as much as you can. Get to know the Bible as much as you can. Pray as much as you can. And help as many people out right now find their way into the kingdom. Because it's still our duty to spread the gospel. It's still our duty to spread the Great Commission to the lost and the hurting. So the more you do for the Lord now, the more you will be able to do for the Lord during the coming time, when things are good during the millennium, and when things will be perfect, when God makes earth his home. So I guess that's it for now. I guess I will just end up with the usual. Take care, stay in prayer. We will see you in Jesus' kingdom, somewhere over there, or maybe even somewhere up in the air. And we will see you at the Eastgate meetup. Alrighty. Okay, take care. Remember, Jesus rules.